anyway, just want to start
Go
off
ahead.
with just giving you a little bit of who I am. I know that you and I have met 100%. So I'm Geraldo. I'm the Human Resources Business Partner for our district. Been with Target now 14 years. Started off as a price change team member, and have just held like various roles in between. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Tell me a little bit about you.
No, I mean, not much to tell. Target team member for maybe like 4 months now. Outside of that, I run a real estate business, so I work at one of the top firms in the country. Outside of that, low key, relaxed.
Okay, cool. Well, congrats on being here for 4 months. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. So I read the email. I feel like you've had some disagreements with Mel over like your zone and some of the things that have happened. But like in your own words, like what's going on?
Where do I start? Okay, so Target has a practice of telling all the team members that, it's all about accuracy and maintaining your sections and trying to make sure you have the best store possible. However, I'm an efficient individual. So when I notice things that are happening, I report them. All of a sudden now, it turns on me when I report them. And me, I don't like that. Because I know if I report that I have a problem in my section, or this is what's going on, and I can point you to what the solution is, then there should be a solution. It shouldn't be, why are you making so much noise? You know what I mean?
Who's telling you that?
No, that's the gist that I'm getting from inside the store, which is why I went outside the store, which is why you're here. Because inside the store, it's kind of like a muffled perspective from where I sit. And then after that, I was like, I see that we're not getting anywhere inside the store through the systems in here, through the HR and all that other stuff. But now I have to elevate to get out the store to see what's going on with the perspective from somebody outside of the store.
So what are the issues that you've brought up, and then what have they told you? Because you're saying like they're basically saying like to not say stuff.
Well, I want to switch out my zone because I was constantly being bombarded with work that I feel like sets me up not in order for me not to complete, so to speak. Now, there were several changes that they made that were minor, that were, okay, I guess they should have been in place to begin with.
What changes?
So in our section, we're responsible for pulling priorities as well as maintaining the zone, helping the guests. The problem is the rules were you're not allowed to leave the floor unless there's somebody to cover you. So the babies department, which is a very in-demand department, is self-reliant on the person that's working in chems. Typically that wouldn't be a problem, but if one person obviously takes a break or needs to use the bathroom or whatever is going on in chems, it kind of stops babies or whoever's in babies from doing babies. Now, the next problem is the back stock room for babies is on the 3rd floor and the reshop is on the 1st floor. So you have to leave that floor regardless to go and do your priorities or to pick up reshop. But because they set the rules the way that they set them, it kind of, it gives a conflict of how to get the job done by a set time. And now we're told, we have to leave the store at 11 o'clock because obviously the store's not making as much money as it would like to, so on and so forth. So with that being said, when guests, and then we have the lockup cages, which is always a problem. Guests are always wanting to get something from the cages. The showcases. So these are the intangibles that I spoke about in a previous email, which is the guests want to smell items or, they want to browse them for a while, and it kind of stops you from doing what else you have to do because you have to wait for the guests to, figure out what exactly you want to do, even though they might have been standing in front of that showcase for a few minutes before I even got there, right? So those things mixed with the overnight, which overnight's a disgrace, if you ask me, and this is where a lot of the problems come in. Overnight always pushes their stock from the trucks before the store closes, right? So sometimes you would get this overlap. This is something I mentioned before.
You're saying like they start pushing the merchandise before the store closes? Correct.
You'll see crates on the floor, stuff like that, and sometimes they would try to push 9:30, 10 o'clock, right? 10 o'clock, if you close the store, that's not a big deal. However, what happens is when overnight comes to push, and we come to go pick up our back stock, our reshop finally, sometimes the spaces that we have on the shelf are no longer available because, overnight's pushing their brand new products into those spaces. Then on top of that, overnight doesn't use these zebras. They use the labels that are on the boxes, which is fine. The problem with that is the labels on the boxes are sometimes outdated. So when you scan something on the Zebra, it tells you one location, and they're going to be pushing a different location per the package, whatever it says on the item. So now what happens is a lot of times when I'm in store, I now have to keep constantly correcting what's going on with overnight, because overnight is pushing stuff according to the print labels that are on the box and not using the Zebra, which I don't understand why they're doing that, but that's the thing. And I've had conversations with the TL, the ETL. Obviously, I had conversations with Melody. So, but there seems to be like no solution to that. So I'm kind of confused, because they always tell you we want to be as accurate as possible to make sure that we have adequate supplies for the guests. And when the guests come in here and they say, hey, there's 6 items over here, and then I go look it up and there's 0, now we have to talk about overnight pushing the stuff and not even updating capacity, which is another issue. So they push the stuff off the trucks with the incorrect information on the box, and they don't even update the capacity. So now we have, it's creating errors in the system. So I bring these things up and I'm like, hey, look, I have a whole bunch of push that I can't pick, push, pull, whatever you want to call it, and put on the shelf, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of errors going on here. And what I'm trying to say is, hey, can we fix these things? I'm receiving pushback for that. Or, I was being told like, oh yeah, it is what it is, so to speak, or it's not that bad. You know what I mean? So there'll be days like Friday where I work the section. This past Friday. I worked the section babies and chems. So maybe I had like a 2-hour period where I had some help, but for the most part, that person left to go do pulls, because that was one of the new things that they implemented. They said, hey, we'll get a dedicated puller. That way you don't have to pull those items. Because once again, if you have to pull those items, I have to go to another floor.
So like this at least keeps you in the department.
Right, it keeps me in the department. But then still, I would have to maintain my section and chems, obviously, when the section takes a break, which is fine.
Are they far away from each other?
They're not far away from each other, but the lockup cases are far away from each other.
Okay.
And then once you get into the lockup cases in chems, you now end up in OTC, because for some strange reason, there's a call box, well, not strange reason, but there's a call box over there at 40, and a lot of guests are always coming over there, so now I end up going even further.
Do you ever get like support with like lock and showcases at all?
No.
Okay.
So with that being said, the showcases, for the sections, it's only 1 person per section. And this is what I was saying. I was like, babies, it's a 2-person section, But once again, because the store is not as profitable as they would like, I understand that aspect. But working your babies like this constantly, it's like you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like, here's all this work, and if one person is not there, it's a domino effect. You are destined to fail. So this is something that keeps happening over and over and over again. Maybe a couple of days you can kind of patch it up. Maybe a couple of days you can, hey, here overnight, hey, do this, blah, 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 make it look pretty. Like today, it looks pretty. Ain't gonna stay like that for long.
It does look good.
I know.
Here last night.
I know, it looks good, yeah. I was surprised myself. I said, oh, look at that. Oh, so I notice everything, but don't let that fool you. That's probably more likely for you guys, because you guys were planning to come here or something like that, whatever. But
No. There was no plan on coming here. I just came here. Okay, good. So I think a couple of things that I heard in terms of like grievances that you've thrown up. Mm-hmm. You've talked to Mel, and like, what solution does she give?
So, first off, let's backtrack. I've talked to my TL, and that's another issue. Melith.
Okay.
Melith is our TL, Melody, the store director.
Okay.
So I've spoke to Mel several times about this situation. In the group huddles, there's always a communication of, if you see something wrong in your zone and there's like more than one item and it's not like a guest did it, let them know so they can help you. So I said, okay, cool. I noticed somebody backstock about like 6 of the Pampers in the back. And I was like, okay, just in incorrect location. And then they put 3 more in another section. So I said, okay, let me just take them out. I'll just call Mel. She'll probably document it, talk to somebody, whatever. She gets down there, and then I say, hey, Mel, look, somebody, I'm assuming overnight, improperly backstocked this according according to the label that's on the box, it belongs somewhere else. All of a sudden now she told me, well, morning team didn't do their job and I didn't do my job because it was maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I should have caught it when it was 2:30 when I walked into the store.
When she said I didn't do my job, you?
Me.
Her? Okay.
Me. So morning didn't do their job. I didn't do my job. And that kind of pissed me off because I'm like, what am I doing now? I'm doing my job. How are you going to tell me I'm not doing my job because it's not in the time frame that best fits you? It's very insensitive, right? So I felt totally disrespected on that. So I had a conversation with Melody about that whole situation. I put it in emails and all that stuff. We sat down in the office, and I remember asking her, I was like, well, so what's going on with Mel? Because we had a prior situation where I told Mel was not going to be coming in for Halloween. And
For Halloween, you said?
Yes, for Halloween. I told her for like 4 or 5 weeks leading up to Halloween. And the transmission was, as long as you have sick time, you should be good to go. I said, okay, cool, no problem. So I didn't call the store, but I informed my boss, especially the day before, I'm not coming to work. All of a sudden now, I get documented for a no call, no show. I then speak to Kes about it. And then after that, Melody said, okay, we'll change, what's going on with that. And then
They took that away.
Correct. And it allowed me to put in my sick time, which I had to, do all that stuff. But while that was happening, my TL told me, oh, don't worry about it. Melith. She told me, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Don't let that write-up affect you in front of HR. And I'm like, why would I be okay with taking a write-up for something that I shouldn't be taking a write-up for? Right? So she told me she would talk to Kes. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went back to work. I followed up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 when I took my first 15. Denzel, the HR dude, said there was no update. That's okay.
Update on what? Sorry.
Update on if Kes said anything or whatever, what was going on. So then after that, 6:30 rolls around. I'm like, is there any update now? Blah, blah. He was like, no, still no update.
This was after they told you that we're going to take out the no call, no show?
No, this is before that.
Okay.
This is before that. So 6:30 rolls around, I take my meal. I come back downstairs. I see Melif, my TL, in my location. So I'm like, hey, what's the update? She goes and tells me, oh, you have perfect attendance. That's not going to affect you taking the write-up. And I had to laugh at that point because I'm like, this is what I have to deal with from my TL. It's constant, in my opinion, stupidity that I have to oversee, manage, and handle myself. So I told her, I said, you know what? At the end of the day, I'll take care of it myself. I'm responsible for me, and you won't like it, but I know I have to cover myself. So then after that, Kez and Melody spoke with me next day, and then they had got it switched. So now back to that meeting with Melody about what was going on in the section, what she was saying. So I was like, hey,
the overpush from overnight.
Correct. So then I'm like, hey, what's the follow-up in regards to Mel? Like for that previous situation. Is anything being done? Now she told me they're not allowed to speak about it because it's confidential, and so forth. Which I understand, but if I'm making a complaint against a TL, I would like to know what would be like the course of action, or is there like some type of follow-up, or what's the process like? I don't know if y'all can discuss that, but that's what I was told.
Yeah, so we can't tell you exactly what we did, right, in terms
Right.
of like an accountability standpoint, because we just wouldn't do that for
Mhm.
anybody.
Mhm.
But anytime like a complaint is received, especially like if it's about a leader or a team member, right,
Mhm.
obviously it gets investigated, whether that's through Kezia, store director, or anybody else in the store. And then there is some sort of like level set where we talk through what should have happened, right? They just can't go into detail about like what was done or what was spoken about with Melif, with you, right? So it's not about not wanting to follow up with you, but they can't necessarily divulge all of that either, right?
I understand that. So at that point, I was like, well, would there be like an apology issued or something like that? And her response was, well, team leaders don't apologize to team members.
Melody said that?
Yes. And then she said she's learning how to speak to team members. So, at that point, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. If you promote somebody into a TL position, they should come with skills in order to handle themselves as well as multiple staffs at multiple levels. So we're not just talking about, oh yeah, this is just a regular TL. For God's sakes, the lady is running the building for majority of the day for the closing shift. So conversations that you have with other team members, what could that be like if she's so on quote unquote learning how to speak to the other team members? You understand what I'm saying, right?
I understand what you're saying. I think when we hire people, right, like not everyone's always going to be 100%.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right?
There's no such thing.
There's always like stuff that they got to work on. So I think when Melody mentioned like she's working on that, probably like she's working on her communication style. That's not to say that she shouldn't already have some skill set there to like learn, to lead and be able to execute things in the store. But there has to be some sort of like qualifications, which is what we go through from like an interview process.
Of course.
And you get so much from the interview, and then you get more with the person like when they're on hand, right?
Of course.
I think similar to like when you were hired, right? Like I think you might have worked retail in the past, possibly, I'm not sure. But you might have had some things that you came with that you were already really good with, and some things that we just had to teach you along the way.
Of course.
And based off of the way you're talking about zone and reshop and all that stuff, I feel like they trained you pretty well.
I have to say yes. I have to say, when I got over here, I learned so much more than the previous store that I was at for like a month and a half. So yes.
You started at another store?
I was at Kings Highway. I was over there. They were trying to keep me over there instead of coming over here.
Elliot and him?
Yeah. I love that guy. He's so funny.
Yeah, he's awesome. Well, that speaks a lot about you, right? But really exciting in terms of like your training. But in terms of like her, obviously, if we get feedback that her communication is not great, those are things that the store leadership team will work on, right? I think in reading the feedback that like you composed for us, a lot of it seemed very like store oriented that the store needed to fix. So when I read it and connected with the store team and Melody said she was going to connect with you, it seemed like there was going to be some resolution there. I'll also tell you, like, hearing some of the stuff that you're going through with like Melif and like her communication, and you wanting like an apology in some form or fashion, it felt like you two needed to sit down and talk it out, right? And then in just connecting with Kez, she had mentioned like you were opposed to doing that. So how would you want us to move forward?
Well, first off, I no longer want to work in the babies department. That's one thing, and I was told yesterday that would not be happening.
Yeah, I was talking to Melody about like your transfer. And she mentioned like not being able to transfer you right now, but looking into Q1, which is just like a month or two, month and a half away at this point, being able to try to like make that happen for you.
So, if you don't mind, now I can get into that conversation of why I'm not allowed to transfer. What is the reason behind that?
She had mentioned like she just didn't have the ability to like move you from that department without having to hire an additional person, and then moving you into another department that's already fully staffed. Like you wouldn't get any hours there. I don't know what your availability situation is either. What is your availability?
No, I usually close. So
you could only close
2 p.m. to closing.
So the closing expert shift, like you'd still deal with the same team leader, right?
That's fine. I mean,
right, in terms of like the oversight of the shift. But that's what I was told, right? I don't work here every day. It's like I'm more of like an external partner, but in terms of like staff and work centers, like if they don't have the wiggle room to move you into another work center and give you the same amount of hours, there's also the piece of like we want to protect how many hours you desire, right? We may not be able to give it to you 100% like where you want, but we try to get very close. And in certain cases, sometimes we get to go above that too if you are open to that. But that's what she told me. Again, I don't work here every day, so I can't tell you like what the day-to-day workings are. But I know like from working in a store, if the department is at head count and we can't add another person due to hours, like they usually don't move them. But they put you like on a waiting list. So you'd be sort of like hanging on the side. Once we're able to like accommodate you in that work center and everybody's in line to like taking you over there, like they transfer you over.
Okay. All right. I don't really have anything to say at this point.
Okay. So a couple things that kind of came up that I just want to make sure we're good. we talked through some of the things that like you felt you had issues with in the work center. I think you brought them up to Melif, nothing happened. You brought them up to Melody, nothing happened. I just want to make sure, like, and you've been taking notes, so like some of the things that you kind of talked through, like we'll circle back on in terms of like the overpush. I will tell you from working in a store, it will never be 100% not overpushed.
I understand that.
Right? I don't want to sell you any dreams.
Right. I'm realistic, so
I've worked as a team member, okay? And I can tell you that you may get into a really good streak where like departments get good, but unfortunately you lose people, right? And then you gotta hire and retrain, and sometimes there's gaps in between. We want to strive for it to be as accurate as possible, and like I appreciate your commitment to ensuring that that's 100%. I think if you do see like something that's off, definitely bring it up, right? We want to know because we want to make sure that we can circle back. I don't know why it wasn't received well in the past, but like we'll kind of talk to everybody involved to make sure like if you bring up a concern and it's something that like we can go back and retrain and teach someone, sometimes it's just that, like we're able to do that. In terms of the label stuff that you mentioned, that's also hard to control 100%.
I understand. Trust me,
so
I understand.
I don't want to sell you dreams, but like if you bring it up, I think they can look into it to make sure the custom block is good and that everything's in the system the way that it should. But again, like that'll never be like 100%. I think the place that I go to when I hear about your concerns is like I want to make sure that the leader that receives your concerns like hears you, right? Because I think the stuff that you're bringing up is not like out of this world, and we can come together and talk about it. So like Target is really big on like how do we just come together, talk about it, and fix it, which is why I was like pushing so much for you to maybe meet with Melif and try to figure that out a little bit. Would you still be open to that, or is that something that like is totally out of question? Like,
Melif?
Yeah. Because
look,
you're gonna end up working with her every night anyway.
I can work with her on a day-to-day. Honestly, Melody put into place something in place where Melif had to work on the third floor, and then Arlene, like they split them up. To me, that's ridiculous. I think the TL should be working on all the floors.
Yeah.
And I don't need you to hide away from me or something like that. For me, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just whenever I speak about work, sometimes it's very dismissive with her, you know? So it's like... Melif, yes. So it's like you bring up something that's a very valid point, here's a problem, and then all of a sudden now you can't get a solution. You just get this banter that's like, why do we call you in the first place? And then I just put on the back, I go do what I have to do because it's like I cannot count on you as a leader to solve the issues that are coming up because for some strange reason, you just dismiss them, oftentimes more than not. So you either got to call the other one, Harleen, who when you call her, she has the skill set to understand, here's the problem, I see why that's happening, let's see if we can get a solution. Where Mel is just like, you got to get it done, It's like, you know what I mean? So that's usually where the problem always arises with her. It's just always a dismissive attitude, you know? When I speak to Melody, honestly, as a store director, it kind of feels the same way. It's like, okay, we'll go in the office. Yeah, I hear you out, but at the end of the day, here you go. You know, so it's like, whoa, why would I even speak there either? You know, so I just figure out what's the best thing I can do for my section. That way, people don't come to me, hey, Jeff, you didn't do blah, 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 blah. And I'll just communicate, this is why X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. You guys figure it out as management.
Have you had a lot of conversations where they're like holding you accountable for like not getting things done?
No, like I said.
Conversation? Sorry.
Like I said, they want us out of the building at a specific time to save money. Granted. But if you out here having us do all these different tasks, and then all of a sudden now we put the intangibles, which is a guest in there, and we can't fulfill them, now it becomes a problem. Sometimes I have to stay past my 11 o'clock just to finish work. Obviously now, because there's more money to give out, it's not a problem. But once Q1 comes in, you damn sure not gonna see me past 11 o'clock. Because they wanna make sure you cap that. I understand all that, but once again, it's like, sometimes it's overwhelming. It's like, okay, I gotta do this, and this. some random thing is happening, I'm trying to let y'all know, hey, look, I may not be able to do this. You just find a way to figure it out. And rather than getting into argument over what's going on, because some people are tone deaf, I just go, all right, I'll figure it out myself.
Do you feel like they don't help you like get a solution to it? They put it back on you.
Right. Okay. It's like, just get the work done. You know, Carlene will help as best as possible when you call her. Melody, you never know what you get with her. It's like a 50-50. It's like a toss-up, you know? So it's like, if she arrives, I don't want to be the one to say, oh, I don't want you, I want to call Carlene. I was like, hey, the TL's coming. Whoever comes, this is what I'm showing. I'm just reporting what I see. Here's the issues. I'm explaining why I think this is the way it is. If you don't want to listen to it, what do you want me to do after that?
Does every like closing expert call the team leaders over, or is that?
I mean, yes and no.
Like, check in on like stuff. Like...
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. But as I've observed in huddles, when she always specifically, Melif always tells you to call them, we always give feedback like, okay, well, we asking about this, we asking about that, nothing happens, and then all of a sudden now, oh, we have to end the meeting because, you know, we're here too long, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden now, once again, shut down, go back to the zone. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's what you're telling us. Why are we having these huddles? Our closing team is very self-sufficient. Like, some people will leave their department once it's done, come to help me. It's happened many times. Sometimes the TL comes down and sends somebody to come and help me. It's happened many times. So I can't sit there and say 100% of the time it's ignored. But what I can say is, like, a lot of times there's always these situations, and rather than report this, report that, it's like, oh, God, I'll figure it out. Because if I had to report everything that I heard or everything that was done, we would have meetings back to back daily or something like that. It's just too much. Sometimes you can just say, okay, I'll dismiss this one today. I'll dismiss that. Okay, cool. Next week, no, I can't deal with it now. Now you hit my point now, and that's what it's like, you know.
Okay. So next steps. How do you feel like we move forward from here?
I mean, me as I am. Since I can't move out of babies, I've already accepted I will be in babies. The same day I wrote that email, I was working in babies without any incident, any issues. In my mind, I'm like, well, I've accepted it, it's fine. Do the work. Because at the end of the day, that's what they pay you to do the work. So I do the work. If something happens, I'll deal with it when it happens. Or you guys will know about it when it happens.
And then moving forward with Melif, no one-on-one meeting, but...
I don't think it's necessary at this point. It's been a couple of days so far removed. I'm so used to it now. It's like, okay, I've really let that go.
Okay.
It's like, all right,
I'll
wait for the next one.
We'll still end up connecting with her, just to provide some feedback on the communication, and just talk to her, right, to see what's going on her end. If you don't want to meet with her, that's fine. I just want to make sure, like, as we move forward, like, and again, she'll be told the same thing, so it's not just you, but like both of you are able to work together respectfully, right, and be able to do things that like you guys are paid to do on a day-to-day. I've heard nothing but good things about you, Jeffrey, so I'm excited to like actually get to meet you in person. Melody said nothing but great things. I'm excited to hear that Elliot has also said great things from what you just told me. So, you know, excited to have you working with us. I would love, like, if something does come up, like, and you feel comfortable talking to Kez, like, connect with Kez, right? I'm in the store quite a bit of time as well, and we can connect along the way. But we're here to, like, help, like, troubleshoot and solve problems. I think ultimately a lot of the things you brought up are, like, people problems, right? And that's what we do. Like, she's HR for the store, right? And she helps kind of convey and, like, strategize some of those things. And, you know, unfortunately, not every leader that we hire at Target is going to be 100% with everything, right? So anytime, like, there is a gap, like, we love the feedback because then we can work on it, right? And you might have given Melif some of this feedback and maybe she didn't hear it correctly, or maybe she's not taking it the way that you're intending. And that's where we're kind of coming to play, where we like kind of help troubleshoot and guide along the way and help, you know, people upskill some of the things that they're working on. So I would love for you to like continue to keep our doors open for you, and just come talk to us, right? I know you had wanted to reply to the email, but I wanted to come talk to you.
Thank you.
Right, I think that's what we do. Like, we talk to people, and like we try to like talk to them in person. And nothing that you said today, I think we can't fix. And hopefully you feel the same way.
Oh, hopefully, but from where I stand, I'm like, I believe it when I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just how I take everything.
I'll ask here that Cass just checks in, right? And just kind of like touches base with you periodically just to see how things are going. If something goes left, please tell Cass right away, so we could address it right away. They're in the store every day, which is why I continue to reference them, right? And they can kind of like react quicker and like have boots on the ground. But we're here for you as an open door if you need anything, okay?
Got it. One more thing I want to say, and it pertains to the back stock room. When Jonathan was here, we was building out the store, there's something in the back called uppercase back, and I guess it's for like big bulky items, whatever. Whenever we... Yeah, that's what it's called. That's what the shelf is called. Like when you scan it, it says uppercase back. And then there's some shelves that say open stock.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
Apparently, from what I was told from Jonathan before he left, we have like some type of discrepancy in the back where it over pushes some of the wipes and stuff like that that's on that back wall. And he was saying it's because the wipes are in a section called upper case back, and it should be changed to open stock. That way you don't get over push for that. So what happens is I can scan a pamper or whatever, and then the system will tell me to pull 6 more, even though there's 6 already there. And this also goes into why I was saying that it was stressful, because it's like I just pull these items, they're gonna go right back for them to
you gotta
come
push it
out.
back
So
up.
nobody could figure out how to stop it, and that's been going on for months.
Have you guys heard about that?
I haven't. Jonathan hasn't.
So I told Jonathan. Jonathan told Michael, the other TL. Zach was told about it. I told Rickson last night. So this is something I've been talking about for months. Okay. So hopefully somebody can figure out how we can stop that over push.
I am not the expert
I know,
in all
I know.
things logistics here.
I know.
But she'll make a note of it here. We'll take a look. Jonathan's not in this store.
I know.
That doesn't mean that he doesn't work at Target. So we can give him
Rickson
a
should
call.
definitely be able to help though, because
Okay.
he's done the overnight and he's done all of that stuff in the past.
Okay.
So he should.
And then they can follow up with you on like what the process has been taken and try to resolve that. Ultimately, anytime like we make a change, sometimes it takes 24, 48 hours for it to like kick in.
That's what Rickson was saying.
So I don't want to say hold on to your seat, but like after they fix it, like continue to give us feedback, right? To see like if it's worked, but she'll make a note of it so we can follow up on that.
All right. Well, I mean, that's really it for me.
Okay. Any plans for Thanksgiving, Jeffrey?
Probably gonna be working. The other job.
Oh, I was like, well, we're closed, so like, what are you working?
The other job's closed too.
No, real estate's 24/7.
You guys are showing houses on Thanksgiving?
If I have to, yeah, sure, yeah. I have clients, you know. The work don't stop because I'm over here. Even when I'm here, I'm still working.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, there's
All right,
always
man.
something. But it was a pleasure.
Yeah, we're here for you if you need
Appreciate
anything.
it. All right, guys.